All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to No Final Bell. Man, what a crazy weekend this has been for Under Siege, for Impact Wrestling, and AEW's Dynamite Double or Nothing. As recording on Sunday, we just
We
got
just
done,
got finished
just got
watching.
finished watching Double or Nothing. But before we get on to talking about that fresh content, we are going to talk about Under Siege.
So we start off with the countdown. We had two matches on the countdown. The first of which being the. I thought it was for the Knockouts tag team titles. It was actually non-title. But it's safe to say that it's going to lead to non-title. Because the team of Jessica and Courtney Rush. So Rosemary was stuck in the undead realm for like 2 weeks. The timer on the hourglass ran out. Now we have Courtney Rush, which is essentially Rosemary's alter ego. So her and Jessica, essentially the new like death dolls, they beat the coven, and then we had the digital media championship on the line on the countdown between Joe Hendry and Dirty Dango. Joe Hendry wins by disqualification after Dirty Dango low blowed him. Um, so these two matches I didn't get a chance to watch, but we started off with Nick Aldis taking on Kenny King. Nick Aldis beat Kenny King. This next match, we were pretty much figuring out who would be the mystery third partner for Sammy Callahan and Rich Swann to take on the design. Well, we got our answer. It was Jake Christ. So essentially, in a way, this is like the new OBE because you have Sammy Callahan, Rich Swann, and Jake Christ. They beat the design. The open challenge that was originally an open challenge answered by Gazelle Shaw against Trinity. Trinity beat Gazelle Shaw in her uh, Impact pay per view slash Impact Plus special debut. This next match was a little bit of a highly anticipated match, considering the um, individuals involved. ABC, which is essentially, Chris Bay and Ace Austin, in a way, they still represent Bullet Club, but as of late, they've been called ABC. So, are they still with Bullet Club?
Well, if you
Are they
think about
not?
it,
I mean,
ABC could be Alpha Bullet Club.
no, because it's basically short for the Ace and Bay Club.
Okay, that's
So,
understandable.
but they took on Subculture, which, if you're not familiar, it is the team of Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster. Yes, those two from NXT UK. If you've been watching that long, they were out there with Danny Luna, and they took on ABC for the Impact Tag Team titles. But unfortunately, Subculture did not get the victory. Then we had the highly anticipated contest between Trey Miguel and Chris Sabin for the X Division title. What would have been Chris Sabin's X ninth X Division championship win if he were to beat Trey Miguel. Unfortunately, that did not happen, which um, it does make you wonder, like, and it does make you think, like, man, if Chris Sabin had won his record ninth X Division title, like, would he potentially have used that to invoke option C?
I think
Because as
so.
far as I know, any time, like even with his eighth time winning the X Division Championship, I don't think, because I think that when he last won the X Division Championship, I don't quite think option C was a thing. I could be wrong, but I don't. Well, actually, no. He did use option C. I forgot about that. He did use option C, and he challenged Bully Ray.
Hmm.
It was back in like what 2013. Yes. So who's to say he wouldn't use it again against the world champion if he was to win the X Division Championship? But he didn't. Also, leading into the next thing that happened in the next match, uh, it was a number one contenders like 6-pack challenge essentially, or a 6-man, whatever you want to call it, between Alex Shelley, Yuya Uemura, Eddie Edwards, Jonathan Gresham, Moose, and Frankie Kazarian. Ultimately, Alex Shelley got the win. It would have been interesting had Chris Sabin won the X Division Championship for a ninth time from Trey Miguel. You have Alex Shelley become the number one contender. Chris Sabin holds on to the X Division Championship until Alex Shelley were to potentially become the world champion, defeating, um, you know, either Steve Macklin or PCO. We'll get
Right.
into that. And then and then Chris Sabin is out there to like congratulate Alex Shelley on his big moment, and then he's like, "Hey, I have something to tell you. I'm cashing in option C." Like the layers to that would have just been mind blowing. But before we get to Steve Macklin and PCO, we did have the Knockouts World Championship on the line, and also, interestingly enough, this was technically Jordan Grace's final Impact Wrestling match, at least for now. She is a free agent,
Hmm.
so she could choose to go anywhere else if she wanted to. Um, which kind of makes sense that like she's a free agent, that like she ended up losing that match to Deonna Purrazzo for the Knockouts World Championship, considering um, the ramifications essentially of her contract status. Um, so then we get to the main event. No disqualifications between Steve Macklin and PCO, and my God, it was a brutal match. And the one thing that stood out in that match was PCO getting his mouth stapled shut. There were real staples hanging out of his mouth, and he used pliers to like rip them out. I tell you, PCO is not human. But regardless, Steve Macklin did retain. He beat PCO, and after the match, demanded Scott D'Amore to come out and put the title around his waist and shake his hand. But Scott D'Amore did what he said he was going to do. He made that promise essentially to Macklin that he was going to put the title around his waist and shake his hand. But Macklin did not shake Scott D'Amore's hand. Meanwhile, Bully Ray comes down to choke out Scott D'Amore and has seemingly formed a new alliance with Macklin. Then we have PCO trying to help but gets beaten down. Then the Motor City Machine Guns come down. They get beaten down. And then Macklin and Bully Ray put Scott D'Amore through a flaming table to end Under Siege.
That's insane. Got to more. I mean, he'll do anything to help his company out,
Yeah,
won't he?
yeah. But
Yeah, so we if I get to right to Double or Nothing, the buy-in match was the Hardys and Hook against Ethan Page and the Guns. I almost kind of totally forgot about this being a thing, but um, then when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's right. I do remember them talking about it being at Double or Nothing, and then I didn't see anything about it being on the main card. And I was like, maybe we should always have a buy-in match, and well, this was it. Um, it was a decent match. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I thought that Ethan Page and the Guns were really trying to get under the Hardys and Hook's skin. Um, Unfortunately, hopefully Jeff is going to be all right. Hopefully he doesn't have to get
yeah,
any kind of
I like
surgery on
that.
his ankle there, as he looked
It
like
was
he
bad.
twisted it. Um,
Um,
Hopefully his neck's all right. Hopefully he's not any sort of concussed because he was just out of it and winded.
he was yeah he was pretty banged up after that, and like just in
Well,
general.
he was, if anybody was watching it, he goes up to the top rope and unfortunately fell straight down because his ankle, he didn't have any, couldn't really have any weight on his ankle. So I think that was what really had a strong feeling of it. He was able to continue on and finish off the match, but you could definitely
For the
tell
most part,
he
but yeah,
was
he was
definitely
knocked
ring
loopy.
rusty there a little bit. I mean, Taz was saying the best. Oh, there doesn't seem to be really any ring rust. Well, fortunately
He
there
spoke too
was.
soon.
Yes.
He spoke too
Don't get me
soon.
wrong, he was doing a lot of his normal Jeff Hardy spots and stuff like that, and that's always gonna be Jeff Hardy. He's always gonna do the same spots and same moves
Yeah,
in the sense there, but it just looked like, man, fortunately Hardy, hopefully when it comes to going after those tag team titles, that you can maybe have Matt kind of carry the match for you,
yeah,
and then I mean, don't get me wrong, you can still go out there and do your swanton bombs and your other moves, but I think it's probably best you don't go up to the top ropes too much anymore and
yeah.
one up.
Don't be doing that whisper in the wind anytime soon, there, Jeff.
It would be nice, but yeah, Hardy's and Hook actually beat Ethan Page in the Guns, and now Matt Hardy owns Ethan Page's contract. It'll be interesting to see what Matt Hardy does with Ethan Page and owning his contract.
Might dress him up as a butler.
I'm thinking, yeah, that'd be something. I'm thinking that Ethan Page is gonna be basically Matt Hardy's little bitch.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, they owe. Well, this one kind of was like shocker, kind of just like happened, but the Owen Hart tournament um, is actually going to be making a comeback.
yeah.
And I think it said something that is going to go into Forbidden Door or start
I
at
yes,
Forbidden
I
Door.
believe no. It's going into Forbidden
Yeah,
Door that I've seen.
the winners are going to
They're
be announced.
starting the tournament, I think, in like I don't know if it's part of the House Rules tour in Calgary, but I do know that like there's gonna be something about the Owen Hart tournament
Mm,
in Calgary, and then it's
yeah,
gonna like
usually
lead into Forbidden
if
Door or
anybody
something like that.
remembers about the Owen Hart tournament, it is a men's and women's tournament, and
Yeah.
whoever wins basically gets a championship belt and a trophy.
Yep.
That's it. And I think you also get a something else. I don't know what really happens with it. I know Adam Cole won it last year, and so did
Same did same. Yeah, it was
Britt Baker.
Adam Cole and Britt Baker that won it
Um,
last year.
and I don't remember them really doing much after the fact, just kind of winning it.
Yeah, they kind of
Personally,
won it and didn't really like.
personally, what I would like to see of it is if you're gonna have a man and a man and a woman win it, I think that you should like get them like a future title opportunity in some way, shape, or form. Make it at least worthwhile. Don't like just have them win a tournament and be like, well, yeah, you're not gonna really do much after the fact. You're just gonna win a championship and a trophy, and you can keep it, put it on your wall, showcase it to whoever, and just say, "Oh yeah, I won a Owen Hart tournament." Like, congrats.
Yeah.
But yeah. Thoughts on that one? I mean, cool. I mean, I guess it's
Uh,
something new that you can have
yeah.
into Forbidden Door. We were gonna be there actually
Yeah.
we originally said we were just gonna be there for Forbidden Door, but we are going to be there for
We're gonna be there
Collision
for Collision
as
as
well
well as
as
Forbidden Door.
Forbidden Door, because it was kind of just announced last second that that Collision is gonna be in Toronto the Saturday before Forbidden Door. So that's gonna be cool to see. A live edition of Collision, can't go wrong with that.
Yeah.
I would assume what AEW is going to do is it's going to be a live Dynamite and a live Collision, but Rampage is going to be taped, which
Yeah.
fine. Collision is kind of like that new show. I think it's only an hour.
Might
I
be.
think the show itself is only an hour. It could be 2 hours. I could be wrong. It starts at 8 o'clock, so that means there's going to be um, well, the event itself in Toronto starts at 6, so there's going to be like an hour. It could be they tape
I was
Rampage
gonna say it might
beforehand,
be them taping Rampage and
and
then
then, well,
doing
actually, it could be like 2 hours beforehand because I think it starts at 8 o'clock.
if anything, what I could see them doing, I didn't even, I just thought about this, is taping,
ROH,
yeah.
ROH, and then Rampage, and then
Well, I don't know so much
Collision.
about Rampage, but they might tape
Is
ROH.
ROH 2 hours?
Well, when you figure that they're taping potentially multiple like weeks of ROH, it might end up being like an hour or two. I don't like you know
Well,
I don't know how
either
ROH tapings
either
like
way, it's
would
gonna be our
work.
first time seeing Collision. We've seen a Dynamite and
Yeah,
Rampage and before, so this is gonna be our first time seeing the
and
new show
and
Collision.
Dark Elevation.
Yeah, unfortunately. But yeah, it's gonna. We're definitely looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be an awesome event, an awesome time to go, and a nice little mini vacation to Toronto. So
Yeah,
we're looking forward to it. Um, so yeah, Orange Cassidy puts the international championship on the line in a black
a
blackjack
Blackjack
battle
Battle
royal. It was
Royale.
kind of weird because like if you were watching the buy-in, they were doing
They were doing all the
all the
entrances on the
entrances on
buy-in.
the buy-in before heading into it. Like fine, saves time,
I mean, in a way,
but
yeah.
it's like it felt kind of weird because like you had the pyro and then like oh yeah we're gonna go right into the match. It's like okay, nothing wrong with that.
Mm.
Um, the battle royal itself maybe wasn't like the most entertaining and the most like thrilling thing, but I tell you what was entertaining was Orange Cassidy and um, who was the last two?
Swerve Strickland.
And Swerve Strickland. I tell you what, those two were battling it out. Um, you know, it was a great first match. I
Yeah,
mean, the action itself was all over the place. I mean, you had Ricky Starks involved with the Bullet Club. Then
yeah, with Bullet Club Gold.
yeah, with Bullet Club Gold, and then now Ricky Starks is still having to deal with them after the match itself. But Ricky Starks was able to eliminate both of them. But can we talk about Ricky Starks' spear out of nowhere?
Oh yeah,
Oh my lord, man! That man was like almost like a bullet out of a gun. How fast he was able to spear the living crap out of
Jay White.
Jay White there. Personally, I'm hoping this leads into Forbidden Door. Because I know that they're signed to AEW, but they still have that NJPW tie. So I would love to
Hmm.
see Ricky Starks in like a 2-on-1 handicap match or something like that. It would make
Well, who's to
sense.
say Ricky Starks doesn't find a partner from New Japan to take on Bullet Club Gold?
Could be
It's
possible.
possible,
Could be possible. I would be okay with that.
but that's the thing. Who from New Japan does he get? I mean,
I don't know.
Because
Personally, I don't
ultimately
know.
there's a huge
What if
roster
it
in
gets
New
David
Japan.
Finlay? That'd be crazy.
That is possible, but I
Not gonna
I
lie,
ultimately think there's gonna be a bigger picture
there
and a
could be.
bigger thing with David Finlay and Bullet Club, and especially with Jay White and Bullet Club Gold.
Just remember they have less than a month to prepare for Forbidden Door, so
Yeah,
they have to really start with the Dynamite after Double or Nothing to really prepare for Forbidden Door. So we'll see what happens with that. But to be honest with you, there was a lot of moments towards the end that I thought maybe Orange Cassidy might actually be able to drop his title here at Double or Nothing. Maybe Source Strickland can be the international champion. Nope, unfortunately, actually not unfortunately, Orange Cassidy retains the title,
in the most Orange Cassidy way possible too.
kicks the his hand off the rope and goes off and retains it in a very great opening match. I tell you, man, it was really back and forth, great action, great way to start. For anybody that says that Double or Nothing was boring, I can get a little bit of it, but I will say that a lot of the matches were great.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, so we got into our unsanctioned match between Adam Cole and Chris Jericho. These two men, the Black Belt Combat Club was involved early on. So Sabu and Roderick Strong were out there. They were both all beating each other down, but unfortunately, they all went away side. Sabu, I tell you what, he might be damn near 60, but he can still throw the living shit out of that chair.
Yeah,
That was his thing in ACW. That was his thing in WWE too. So you don't want to mess with Sabu in a chair, because he will literally throw the living crap at it. You don't care if you are protecting yourself. He will literally throw it right at your head. um,
I mean
but
it's a
I tell
projectile
you what,
chair.
old Adam Cole and Chris Jericho were beating the living crap out of each other. Um, Even Britt Baker came out and was beating,
Caning
caning Chris Jericho,
with a kendo
leaving
stick.
welts. Even
Yeah,
Soraya was trying to come out and save the day, but Britt Baker was like, "No, honey, I'm not dealing with this crap." Beats her down and goes in the back, and you don't see each other until later on. And then, in the night, Adam Cole and Chris Jericho beating the living crap out of each other to the point where Adam Cole was beating him down. Chris Jericho just could not protect himself whatsoever, and unfortunately, the Aubrey Edwards had to step in this match, and Adam Cole beats Chris Jericho via referee stoppage because he couldn't defend himself.
yeah.
And Adam Cole had something to prove, and I'm kind of grateful he got the win here. Hopefully, it means bigger things for Adam Cole going forward. Maybe a world title opportunity. That'd be cool. Who knows? Um, we got into the World Tag Team title match, and I thought maybe in some shape or form that Mark Briscoe is going to screw over the FTR and give it to Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal because of everything that FTR, that Mark Briscoe was doing to FTR. That it seemed like they weren't seeing eye to eye. That maybe he's more in the favor of everybody, but I think he was just sick and tired of all the bull crap that was happening between both sides. He was
Yeah,
going to count it down the middle, and honestly, I will tell you something. If Mark Briscoe was ever to, when he retires as a wrestler, I think he might have a career in being a referee because he actually showed like he could handle his own as a referee, even just as a special
yeah,
guest referee. He was enforcing a lot of things that usually the referees don't do, and that's kind of sad because the AEW referees let a lot of things slide,
yeah,
and honestly, Mark Briscoe was not letting anything slide. He was not letting them, secretly tag and not see it,
yeah,
and letting it go. He was, enforcing the open fists, not the closed fists. Um, he was paying attention to the to tags and everything like that, counting down the middle. And then, unfortunately, it got to the end where he just had enough with Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett and was helping out FTR. And After everything that happened, FTR beats Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal to retain the AEW World Tag Team titles. Um, but that doesn't mean that they don't still have a target on their back in some shape or form between the Guns and the Hardys.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's true.
Personally, what I would love to see is make it a triple threat match for the World Tag Team titles. I think you should have the Guns versus the Hardys versus FTR. That would be one hell of a match. Do it. I get it. The Hardys, want to go after the World Tag Team titles, and ultimately, that's the last title that has eluded them in a career right now. As they, unfortunately, FTR were the first belt collectors. You just kind of followed suit.
No, no, it was the Hardys.
No, that's what I'm saying. FTR followed suit.
Oh, I okay.
Like the
Yeah,
Hardys were the
yeah,
first ones, and the
yeah.
FTR followed suit
I
afterwards.
get what you're saying now. Okay.
Yeah, so I would love to see the original belt collectors versus the kind of like the modern day belt collectors. That would be a
Well, see,
great
that's the thing
storytelling.
though too.
And
Is
then how you could build it is like Hardys would be like, well, we were the title collectors way before you guys
yeah.
were
Well,
collecting
see, that's
titles.
the thing too. Is the Hardys were like collecting tag team belts in like indie companies, whereas FTR really only did it in like uh, major wrestling promotions. So I mean,
Right.
because like they were, how many belts did they have? Oh yeah, so they were ROH Tag Team Champions. They were AAA Tag Team Champions, New Japan, IWGP Tag Team Champions, like all at once.
Hmm.
So it's like, okay, well, that's pretty much like three major wrestling companies right there. Like that's not really like not necessarily like a low budget indie promotion, but at the same time it's like there that's not really like a low you know,
Yeah, but
indie
honestly, yeah,
company,
that
whereas
you got a point there. Maybe they were getting it more into indie promotions and Impact and
well yeah, cuz like
ROH and stuff like
yeah,
that. But the thing
cuz
is that you know they were still technically the belt collectors way before
oh
FTR
yeah,
was collecting the belts. So
I'm pretty sure the Hardys had more anyways. So
probably. So we got to our next match. Wardlow and Christian Cage facing off against each other in
in the
a
ladder
ladder
match,
match. Um, it was some crazy action. Wardlow using some weapons there, ladders, tables and stuff like that. Um, of course, we'll talk about the crazy spot for Wardlow, basically doing a Jeff Hardy spot from WrestleMania 2000, where he
oh yeah,
off the
yeah.
ladder into the
Well,
tables.
let's talk about the other moment that happened
Yeah,
in the
he
match
jumps
where
right onto the
he went to
ladder
jump on the ladder and the
and then
ladder
ladder
collapsed
collapse,
underneath the
and
collapsed under the weight of both men.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that was not supposed to happen at all. That
No.
ladder was probably supposed to hold his weight and go up there and attack Christian Cage, but fortunately, as he jumps on the ladder, both men crumble down. It looks like Wardlow
Well,
kind
not
of
to
hurt
mention
himself
the
there too.
angle, the way that the ladder folded after
And then the crazy thing is Wardlow is a one crazy ass dude
he
because
was still
afterwards
trying to climb that ladder,
he was trying
and
to use that ladder.
Rick Knox was basically trying his best to hold it, and then it was it was practically pointless because
And
you
then
weren't
Rick
really going to
Knox
be
is
able
like,
to.
"No, you're not going to use that ladder. You're going to have to use a new one." Then even Rick Knox was the one that like took the ladder bridge away too. Like, bro, what are you doing? You're a
Yeah,
referee. You should just let them kind of do their own thing and just go out there and check on the wrestlers and count the pins
right.
or
Yeah,
check to whoever the winner is. Not putting away ladders like especially one that's um
already set up in the ladder
bridged and
bridge.
like that. So we didn't get the ladder bridge spot, but we did get the
I mean,
tall
we
ladder
kind of
into
did,
the
but Like,
into the
yeah.
table spot. We got the crazy jumping onto the ladder and collapsing spot. But ultimately, I'm grateful this happened, that Wardlow retains and beats Christian Cage to retain the TNT Championship. Good. If you really want to make the TNT Championship relevant, you better have him have his lengthy reigns and good, decent matches like this, because that's what can bring the bring the value of the TNT Championship up. Because right now it's kind of like it's just
It's
another
a,
title right
yeah.
now.
Like, in a way, it's a dead championship, but in a way, it's like they're trying to get it back, like, up off the ground and everything.
Right, exactly. So, we're not this next match. There's not really much to talk about because it kind
It
of just
happened so
happened.
suddenly.
Well, they kind of okay. Let me tell you
Yeah,
something here. They kind of had no choice to speed up the match. Jamie Hayter was obligated to be there because
yeah,
it was there.
right.
But Jamie Hayter must have torn her shoulder or did something to her shoulder with all the tape. Um, they had to drop the title off of Jamie Hayter because she's not 100% healthy. She was probably not really clear to be there. She did wrestle because
Well,
they kind of had to do something to
she
drop
wouldn't
the
have
title.
been able to go out there if she wasn't cleared.
I mean, she was clear, but like I think that she's still gonna be on the shelf for a little bit of time
Yeah.
before she becomes fully healthy again. Um, So yes, Tony Storm beats Jamie Hayter to become the new world champion for the second time. This time as an
This time it
actual
will be an officially
official
recognized.
recognized title
I
reign,
mean,
even
the
though the
thing
first
is, like,
one
the
was
first one was officially recognized,
after the
but
fact,
yeah,
but it's still gonna
the
be
whole time during her reign, she was categorized as an interim.
okay. Let me tell you something. Can Thunder Rosa please challenge Tony Storm for the title? A title that she did not lose,
Yeah,
by the way. She had to vacate the title because of injury.
yeah.
I would like to see her beat Tony Storm and regain the AEW Women's World Championship, to be honest with you. And the reason why I say that is because she was your champion before Tony Storm
Right.
was your interim Women's World Champion. And of course, when
Well,
she
see, the thing
had
is,
to
if it,
drop it because of
yeah,
injury, then became the official
yeah.
AEW
Well,
Women's
see,
World
here's the
Champion.
thing. Initially, like, if it wasn't for the fact that Thunder Rosa was out so long because of said injury, she would still technically be the official women's champion, and then we would have that unification match to determine the
That's what
undisputed.
I'm saying. It makes sense with Thunder Rosa being back and having Tony Storm have the title, because
Yeah,
now you can have the rematch, technically.
yeah. But,
Well,
like,
it would
well,
have been the unification
I was gonna
match, but
say
still,
it's kind of rocky
now you can
with
have
the
Tony
situation like
Storm
that, but
possibly be a transitional champion for Thunder Rosa as she's now back. But then again,
I was
plans
gonna say
could change too.
I don't know how I feel about, like, ultimately Tony Storm being a champion and actually, like, recognized as a champion
Hmm.
officially for her, like, unofficial second reign um is a good thing, but at the same time it's like, yeah, like, I don't know how I feel about her being a transitional champion for Thunder Rosa, but ultimately, like, I'm okay with whatever. I'll be okay with whatever they decide to do.
Right.
So
So yeah, we got on to our next match. The House of Black drew on the challenge for the open house
yes,
match.
for the open house rules match for
And
trio titles, it was an open
who
challenge.
better than the acclaimed and Daddy Ass to answer the challenge and
Yeah,
face off against the House of Black in the open house rules match? Of course, the rap and everything that was hilarious, taking digs at
Buddy Murphy, or, well,
the
Buddy
House of
Matthews and
Black.
his relationship with Rhea Ripley, to saying that, like, oh yeah, Buddy's always ominous while he's getting cucked by a kid named Dominic.
Yeah, that was great. But yeah, I mean, there was a great back and forth action between these two trios. Maybe you thought there was a little bit of a glimpse that maybe the Acclaim of Daddy Ass could dethrone the House of Black, but no, the House of Black do everything in their power to do it, and they do prevail as they beat the Acclaim of Daddy Ass. They retain the World Trios Tag Team titles, and still remain undefeated as a trio in 2023. Ever since winning those trios tag team titles, they have been on a hell of a roll. And it'll be interesting to see who is going to be answering a call to get there. I think it's going to be the Blackpool Combat Club to dethrone the House of Black to become the World Trios Tag Team Champs.
Well, that would be interesting because ultimately there would be an oddball that like potentially doesn't have a title out in the BCC. So like that would be an interesting one because
I'm thinking it could be between
well, see, that's
real.
another
I
thing
think it
too is
might
like
be
who
Wheeler
would
Yuta,
be
John Moxley, and Danielson
yeah. So then Danielson has a
has
championship,
a
and all
championship.
of them have a title
Yeah,
because ultimately Yuta doesn't have a title
because
after
you got
losing a pure
Claudio being the
title.
ROH World Champion. I can see it being Wheeler Yuta, um, John Moxley, and Brian Danielson. And honestly, I would be all for that being the case. TK book it. I would love to see the BCC against the House of Black for the World Trios Tag Team titles because
Yeah,
I think that would be a true test, especially after beating, um, well, after we talk about it for the main event match. But we get on to our next match, Jade Cargill and Taya Valkyrie. Maybe I really did think that Taya Valkyrie could be the one, but no, unfortunately, she does not prevail and gets beat again by Jade Cargill
yeah.
and to
Uh,
retain the TBS
at
championship
that
at
point,
the time
I was
and
like,
becomes 60-0.
at that point, I was like, okay, well, now what do you do with Taya?
And
Like,
then Mark Sterling throws out a challenge. We will challenge anybody, anytime, anywhere.
there's nobody for her to beat on the roster.
Well,
Well, you forgot about one person.
Chris Statlander returns, comes down. She's the only one that Jade Cargill has not beaten
Yeah,
before because she was hurt before the TBS tournament. Um, and then comes out and beats Jade Cargill to become the new TBS champion. What a great way to bring her back,
yeah,
becoming the second TBS champion um, in history
yeah,
and being the one in 60-1.
yep.
Um,
I mean, I look at it this way. It felt good to see Jade Cargill finally lose, but
it
at the
did.
same time, I was like, uh, like it's still gonna. It still rubs me the wrong way that they didn't
Honestly,
ultimately give Taya the win,
I know.
but you got to look at the bigger picture. It was to propel Chris Statlander to return and get her big moment and
Right.
dethrone Jade Cargill at Double or Nothing.
I'm hoping that maybe Taya could go after Chris Statlander, but yeah, it does suck. But then again, you know,
Yeah, because essentially what you got
it
to
might
do is
not
build up
hurt
Taya
her,
Valkyrie again to
but this
challenge a
time for
title.
like the women's world championship or something like that. Now that would be something.
Or, even though it would feel kind of like a demotion, go to ROH, challenge Athena
That
for the
could happen
ROH
too.
Women's World Title.
I did not think about it, but yeah, it could. That could happen.
Whenever Death Before Dishonor is, which you know that's more than likely going to be the next ROH pay per view. Who's to say Athena doesn't challenge Taya Valkyrie, and I mean, at this point, you kind of have to give Taya like a consolation prize, and it's like if you don't
It's kind of what they
necessarily
did
want
with
her to be,
Athena.
yeah, I was gonna say because if you don't necessarily want her to be the women's world champion, and it's a little too early to have Statlander lose the TBS title, then consolation prize, the ROH women's world title.
Yeah, I was gonna
So
say Athena has been holding that title for a while.
I think
Enough.
she needs to come back to AEW like and challenge for the women's world title because
That would be
she's
cool.
only ever really challenged for the TBS title, and then it was like, oh, give her give or take a few months, and then it's like, oh yeah, hey, final battle is here. We need a challenger for Mercedes Martinez,
Right.
and then it was like, oh okay, Athena, and then it's like, oh yeah, hey Athena, you're gonna beat Mercedes Martinez. Like, oh okay,
Yeah, it's kind of weird because ever since
yeah, and
that
then after
moment,
that, Mercedes Martinez kind of dipped,
yeah, I was just gonna say we haven't seen her in ROH since then.
or AEW for that matter,
And I'm pretty sure she signed to both.
as far as I know. Yeah,
So yeah. So we got into our double main event here as the Four Pillars Fatal Four Way match
yeah,
between Sammy Guevara, Jungle Boy Jack Perry, Darby Allin, and MJF. And I tell you what, man, this was one hell of a main event. These four pillars are the reason why AEW is going to be propelled into the future as they brought it. They all four men brought it. High flying action, bodies bruised, battered, and broken all over
yeah.
the place. Um, Beating the living crap out of each other all around the outside, inside, all around the ring. Um, you know, Trying to submit each other out. It was crazy, man. It really was. The use of the Diamond Dyson ring by MGF. Um, Slapping each other. Um, you know, any kind of submissions, any kind of moves. This definitely had people wanting, saying fight forever. This
Yeah.
is awesome. And every right for the fans to be saying that for this kind of fatal four way match. And I knew it, as soon as that became official, I was like, this is gonna be one hell of a match. I'm ready to see it. And, and I kind of figured that MJF was going to retain and made a lot of sense. But yes, he retains and beats Sammy Guevara, Jungle Boy Jack Perry, and Darby Allin. Um, in
Well,
a
but the way that he retained and who he pinned and how he pinned
Yeah,
him,
he pinned Darby Allin, right?
history,
Mm-hmm.
history repeating itself. He pinned Darby Allin
Headlock
after a
takeover.
headlock takeover. Yeah,
Yes.
which, like I said, history repeating itself because that was how MJF beat Darby Allin in their first encounter back in
Right.
what, like All Out 2020, I think,
Something like that.
something like that. It was one of those pay-per-views.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, shit definitely hit the fan in this next match.
Oh my god.
The true main event match. Black Belt Combat Club facing off against the Elite. It was bloody. It was gory. Fighting all around the arena, even outside the arena, in the bed of a truck, through the poker chip that had barbed wire on it.
I look at it this way: the reason why that main evented over the world title was because
Thumbtacks.
it was the bigger story overall with
Mm,
the elite reuniting with Hangman. Like that was the bigger story,
broken
and not
glass. Um,
yeah.
I'm just kind of grateful that Danielson didn't get concussed this time as opposed to last time, and it was because of John. I think it was because of Chris Jericho or something, or Eddie, because it was like, what was it? It's like Blackpool
I have
Combat
no
Club
idea.
against Jericho Appreciation Society or something like that.
I think so, but
Either
either
way,
way,
I think this was before Brian Danielson joined the Blackpool Combat Club itself. But either way,
no, I think he was always in.
was he?
Yeah, he was always in.
Oh,
It was
okay.
just Wheeler that joined later on, and then eventually later on Claudio.
Right. But honestly, in this match, it was crazy. All over the place. Being broken. But the way it got into um the final is the Blackpool Combat Club beats the Elite to win Anarchy in the Arena with the help of Konosuke Takeshita
Yeah,
and Don Callis.
Konosuke,
That's
Takeshita, how could you? How could you,
I
Takeshita?
would be pissed too if I got
No more
overlooked.
Cinnabon for
Hey,
you,
I would be
Takeshita.
pissed too because he thought, oh, I am a member of the Elite, and then you choose Hangman over me. Now I'm
Yeah,
gonna go out there and beat the living crap out of you guys because I thought we were cool. I thought I was part of the Elite. Now you're telling me that you found somebody else to replace me, and then I'm not part of this match. And then Don Callis, of course, we know with everything that's been going on with him and um, Kenny Omega, but Marty, because of everything that happened, does it look like the Blackpool Combat Club have expanded
I
to two
think
more
so.
members?
I
Yeah,
think so. I think Don Callis was doing a little like because
Don.
people had noticed like because when Don Callis was like there to explain his actions. Like he showed up to the building early. He was talking to somebody on the phone. People were like, "Who was he talking to on the phone?" Takeshita. He was talking to Takeshita, and if he wasn't, then
You must have him on speed dial.
yeah, he'd have to. How else? Why else would Takeshita have come out to betray the Elite and cost them the match?
Right.
Anarchy in the arena.
But I tell you, man, yeah, I think the Blackpool Combat Club, if they weren't dangerous before, they gotten even more dangerous.
Oh yeah,
Instead of four members, they have five members now. And then Don Callis, I think, is going to be the new
the new like manager
manager of the
of the.
Blackwell Combat Club,
I mean, because William Regal ultimately went back to WWE,
which I think is stupid, but
and
hey, that's just me.
I'm pretty sure he's a talent scout again. He's back in his old role. Which I
But
mean, not for nothing,
I
that
tell you
didn't even
what,
make sense that WWE got rid of him to begin with.
the BCC, man, this is what I'm saying. They are the top team. They are like the modern day. I think they're the new, like how the Elite was back in the day when they were on top of their game. The Blackpool Combat Club are now the new trio to have to, a new faction to watch out for.
Yeah, I can agree
Um,
with that.
but ladies and gentlemen, that's just going to conclude this episode of No Final Bell. Please make sure to follow us on social media at Tinkle Sports. Of course, over there you want to follow that channel on YouTube and Facebook Watch as Tinkle Sports and Entertainment. And then we have Sunday morning Tinkle every Sunday at 9 a.m. There's Out of Turn 4 every Tuesday at 5. And this show is usually every Wednesday at 5 p.m. unless otherwise. Thank you for watching, everybody. We'll catch you in the next video. Goodbye, everyone.